The U.S. intelligence community sees China as its top threat. But Americans who have left intelligence agencies are getting jobs at TikTok, which is owned by Chinese company ByteDance.
Well, I was definitely concerned, maybe borderline alarmed.
Newsy showed the CIA's former chief of staff, Larry Pfeiffer, how we found at least 3 former CIA officers who later went to work at TikTok. At least another 3 former longtime FBI employees, a crisis management unit chief and supervisory special agents also went to TikTok. There's plenty more in public view. A government website confirmed that an NSA target analyst landed a job at TikTok. Other staff have backgrounds in the U.S. Cyber Command, Pacific Command, and State Department. They're generally working in TikTok investigations, threat analysis, and law enforcement outreach. But Lindsey Gorman, who until April advised the White House on the tech competition between the U.S. and China, says these hires give TikTok a stamp of legitimacy.
On the one hand, this is a normal reaction to a growth of a company. As social media companies have scaled, they've hired threat intelligence analysts. Google, Facebook, Twitter have all done that. And a popular talent pool for these companies is former law enforcement and intelligence officials. On the other hand, though, we can't ignore the fact that these concerns about TikTok's Chinese parent ownership have not been resolved.
She says the lines between business and government get blurred in China, in part because of Beijing's national intelligence law, which compels citizens and businesses to share information with state intelligence gathering efforts if asked.
The ultimate question is this a strategic decision on the part of TikTok, ByteDance, or God help us, the Chinese government? Is there instruction out there, go hire these people in order to help us influence this negativity we're hearing from the U.S. government about our platform, so we can then use this platform to then exploit and get information that we want to get about Americans.
Former senior intelligence officials tell us their colleagues could become unwitting accomplices to China's intelligence services. Their old skills, like mapping networks of terrorists, could potentially be used to target China's critics and opponents. This after a researcher said TikTok can track every keystroke that users make.
It's absolutely possible that TikTok or its parent company ByteDance could be monitoring and collecting keystroke and other data from their former U.S. intelligence employees and then learning how they do their jobs. Could it be done more subtly through investigations of the employees' backgrounds, through idle chit-chat in the office, any of the classic ways in which an intelligence service can get information from individuals?
A TikTok spokesperson told us that's a fantastical and unsubstantiated hypothesis and downplayed ties to China. The spokesperson also said the platform would be irresponsible not to hire people with experience in issues like counterterrorism and covert influence. But fears persist that the private data of U.S.-based TikTok users, their search histories, biometrics, interests, and vulnerabilities can be accessed and exploited in Beijing. BuzzFeed reported that China-based engineers have accessed U.S. users' private data multiple times. Forbes reported that TikTok parent company ByteDance planned to use the TikTok app to monitor the personal location of some specific American citizens. A TikTok executive invoked the CIA to defend the company.
And as actual national security agencies like the CIA during the Trump administration pointed out, the data that's available on TikTok, because it's an entertainment app, is not of a national security importance.
Numerous government agencies don't allow TikTok on their employees' devices, and the FBI is sounding alarms on the Chinese government's activities in the U.S.
When I last looked, we were opening a new China counterintelligence investigation about every 12 hours. And it's about a 1,300% increase from several years ago.
3 national security lawyers tell us that just taking a job at TikTok after government work isn't illegal. But Newsy learned of a 2021 memo that the director of the CIA's Counterintelligence Mission Center sent to former officers. The general warning said, another detrimental trend we're seeing is foreign governments, either directly or indirectly, hiring former intelligence officials to build up their spying capabilities. I can't mince words. Former CIA officers who pursue this type of employment are engaging in activity that may undermine the agency's mission to the benefit of U.S. competitors and foreign adversaries. The CIA and FBI asked Newsy for the names we found of TikTok employees, but then declined to comment. Doug Wise, a former member of the CIA's Senior Intelligence Service, who is also number 2 at the Defense Intelligence Agency, believes that's because the agencies think it's improper to criticize anyone by name.
I believe that the U.S. government considers it to be highly inappropriate. I know CIA would, and it would be an overreach of the U.S. government in terms of intrusion into the personal and private life of former U.S. government employees or former intelligence officers.
He says America's freedoms give China an advantage. Now, nearly all of these TikTok employees shared their professional backgrounds in their public profiles, which I then confirmed. And I contacted them in different ways, didn't hear back from a single person there. Now, depending on their level of seniority when they were in the government, according to a document that I obtained, they would need to seek approval. So that means that the top levels of their service or their agency would have to sign off on this. Chance.